Welcome to Allie's Attic Show, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is an indie singer-songwriter who is also kind of near and dear to my heart because we've shared some of the similar experiences. Please welcome Coco Scott. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so like I said, we've shared some similar experiences. We'll talk about that later. But I want you to tell me your story because you decided kind of late in life that this is what you're going to do and this is what you did and you're doing it well. So tell me how that came about.
Well, it might be a long story.
That's okay.
When I was living back in Winnipeg, I started singing backup for a couple of artists in Winnipeg and doing some recording with them. And I absolutely loved it. I've always loved music. My family loves music, but there was always something inside of me that needed to come out in a musical way. And I had just been pursuing, climbing the corporate ladder, if you will, not really thinking that my dream was ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what that's all about.
Yes, I do.
Right. And, so I did my best at my corporate life and had a lot of success with it, met a lot of fantastic people. But when my environment, my home life, my work life, started changing, and we can maybe get into that a little bit later.
Sure.
Things started changing, and my husband had just survived cancer surgery. And so, there became a portal in time that opened up, and the conditions were perfect for me to jump right through and do something totally different. And so that was my one shot at really pursuing my dream. My husband knew that my dream was to be a musician. Mm-hmm. And he was all for it. He thought that I had a load of talent and thought that, I should do it. And so with his support behind me and this opportunity that arose, I decided to take it and dive headfirst into this new way of life.
So you've traded your day job now for a home recording studio and a whole new way of life on a warm, secluded beach where you began your music career like from scratch. Like you'd maybe sang background for some artists in Winnipeg, but basically you'd never really been a musician before.
Right.
So then over the span of 8 months, this is what blows me away. You wrote, arranged, produced, recorded, and published each of your own demos for a whole album. And you also taught yourself to play the piano while you were doing it. That's amazing. Yeah. So basically, if you put your mind to it, you can do it, Coco. Like, there's no stopping you, which is amazing, and that's awesome. That's what everybody should do if they have a dream. Pursue it. Don't stop.
Exactly.
So Smolder was your debut album, and it was recorded to analog and DSD 256 by 5-time Grammy nominee and Blue Coast Records founder, CEO, sound engineer, and producer Cookie Marenko in San Francisco. What was that like? That must have been a whirlwind.
It was a complete whirlwind. How I came across Cookie and picking her for my album, my first album, I really wanted to be authentic and really have my voice. So I am a solo musician. I play all my own instruments, and that led to me having to learn piano. Not having to learn, but learning piano, is I wanted a certain sound for my album, and so I just figured that if I wanted it to happen, I had to make it happen. So that was my philosophy going in. And my husband is a longtime audiophile who knew of Cookie and her recording processes and her techniques, and he was the one who suggested that I reach out to her. She knew exactly what to do. She's been a phenomenal producer and engineer for many years, and she's a leader in her industry of recording to analog tape. So wanting to produce this album that was authentically me, which mostly is my vocals, I picked her, and I had a lot of confidence that she would know exactly what to do with me and my voice. And I told her how the songs wanted to be, or I wanted the songs to be. And I flew into San Francisco, said to her, we've got 6 days
That's crazy.
to record everything and have it all mixed by the end of my stay.
Mm-hmm.
And some nights were a little bit later than others, but we really pulled it off, and I'm really impressed with how things turned out.
So am I. Now, it took the perfect combination of talents and recording perfection to pull it all off, and the album is gorgeous, and it is, and people will hear the 2 songs that I'm putting up, and they're going to go to your website. In fact, after only 3 months of sales, Smolder was named the number 5, good Lord, I can't talk, top-selling album in 2017 at Blue Coast Music. Not only that, but Andreas, is it Koch?
Yeah.
From
Andreas Koch.
Okay, yeah. Andreas Koch from Playback Designs will be using your album, to debut his new Dream DAC. Is it DAC or DAC?
DAC.
Okay. Yeah. Line at the 2018 Expona Audio Show in Chicago. Explain what that is, because I have no idea.
It's I don't know if I can do justice to it. My husband could, but I'm a little bit newer versed in technical speak for audiophile pieces, but not every computer or piece of audio equipment can interpret digital information or analog information. Sorry. So a DAC is a digital to analog converter, so that you can experience the full sound that is available within any particular recording.
Ah. So he's taking, because your album was recorded to tape, he's going to demonstrate using your album how to convert it, basically.
Yeah. And he, his pieces are the Cadillac there, the cat's meow of audiophile equipment in the world. And so I was really honored when he said that he'd be using my album to demonstrate his brand new product line. So the show actually just happened a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
And he was just in Munich at the high-end Munich audio show, and he used my album there too. So he said he got a lot of great feedback from it, and hopefully that'll result in a couple of more sales.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. I learned something new today too. Now, you're obviously a force to be reckoned with, Coco. I mean, you put your mind to something, you do it. Now, you've had to overcome massive odds to chase your dream of being a musician. Among other difficult circumstances, you grew up with an abusive father. I did as well. And later found yourself in a toxic relationship. I have as well. And someone who would later become your stalker, which I've also had. And that kind of fueled your desire for success even more than initially. And tucked away in your musical inspiration arsenal are parts of the things that you've gone through to make your songs so beautiful. And you share your stories and inspiration behind your music in your monthly mini magazine. So make sure everybody goes and signs up for it. It's going to be on my website. Her website's going to be on my website. You can click on it and go and sign up for her magazine, listen to a lot more music, and find out more about Coco. So I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit, Coco. That's completely up to you.
We can touch on it, because I spent all of my childhood and my early adulthood really resenting my father for what he put my family through. Mm-hmm. And, I'd always been looking for an apology that never came, mm-hmm. and in the end wasn't needed. So, I didn't grow past it necessarily, but I grew out of that requirement for me to move on and to allow that positivity to come out of my songs meant that I needed to be on the other side of those things. Mm-hmm. So especially, well,
Hmm. Yeah, I
better than
do.
anyone,
Hmm.
what that's all about. But, I could, I like to inspire people,
Hmm.
and I always find it difficult to inspire while I'm going through crap.
It's hard.
And it is really hard. You can show strength and you can show determination, but really what's inspiring is the happiness that follows. The ability to let those things go, to move on. It's often said that the best revenge is massive success.
Exactly.
And I heard that early on in my car sales career, but it really is coming to light in my music career. Um, I feel that the more I grab onto that inspiration that I feel inside and that desire to move on and really show people a better way to handle diversity and obstacles, that I will be better for it, my marriage will be better for it, and other people can benefit better from it.
Exactly. And it is the best revenge. Because not only did I have an abusive father, he was an alcoholic, and I went through, I mean, you know what I went through, it was a nightmare. And I always waited for an apology or I love you or, something. And it's never
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. It's never going to happen. Either they don't remember the things they've done or they're just not, they've buried it so deep because they can't believe themselves that they've done it, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then I kept getting into abusive relationships because it is a cycle and you go for what's normal. And unfortunately, that was my normal life growing up. And it took me till 4 years ago before I finally said, enough, like enough. I cannot do this to myself or my family, my daughter, my
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren, my mother. I can't do this anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
I cut myself completely off of everybody. And then, like, seriously, Coco, you probably had the same, like,
Mm-hmm.
in epiphany. Like, I don't know how I came up with this show. I have no idea. Like, I could not sit down and tell somebody, you know what, I just decided one day I was going to do this and I made a website and boom. Because
Yeah.
I'm still kind of in shock, but that's what you're talking about, your inspiration inside of you and your desire to fulfill your dream and to be able to look back. And even though it may sound like childish or whatever the case, whatever anybody wants to label it, there's strength in being able to look back and say, huh, I did it,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Exactly. Yes. And isn't that the best strength?
Definitely.
It's not borrowed. I don't think I mentioned this at all, but during the time that this on and off relationship was going on, I was also raped.
Oh
And
my God, we have way too much in common. Okay.
I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
So that experience really helped me to see that there really were only a handful of people around me who cared as much about my survival as I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember thinking something like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I was the only one who was going to pull myself out of any pit that I might have fell into emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And that I had to take ownership of my own happiness and my own survival. And that experience of finding out who my real friends are and which family members are supportive and which ones judge, which, I was also involved in, heavily involved in a church, believe it or not. And, I went for counseling and they all told me it was my fault. So
you believe it.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But I made it through. I'm on the other side. And it adds to my story.
Exactly. Well, you're a survivor. And I, like, everybody at first when people were telling me I was a survivor, I'm like, no. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I am. I'm a warrior. I'm not just a survivor. I'm a warrior and I'm going to keep going. And it's so freeing to get out of that pit and to start believing in yourself because the fog seems to lift and then you're more aware of who's around you and who really loves you, like you talked about, and who your real friends are, and what family members believe in you. And it's freeing, and it helps you, go forward and do all the things that you love, like your music. And your music, like Coco, it's beautiful. Um, okay, I'm getting all teary, so we're going to stop talking about this. Now, first off, go Jets, go.
Yeah, how amazing is that?
You know what? First time ever. First time. I don't know if anybody follows the NHL, but we're Winnipeggers. It's in our blood. We bleed hockey. I grew up hockey. They're in the Western Conference Finals to see if they go on to the Stanley Cup. And it's never happened in our franchise history. And you know what? I'm having a hard time because the Cinderella story is Las Vegas, and it's a brand new franchise. It's been 50 years since a franchise has gone on to play in the finals for the Stanley Cup. And if we want to talk about playing finals for the Stanley Cup, it was Toronto 100 years ago. So, I mean, and I love Marc-Andre Fleury, who is the goalie for the Nashville Predator, for the Las Vegas Knights. I keep thinking Nashville. They lost 2 nights ago. They play tonight, so my fingers are crossed. I'm sure yours are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have an amazing team right now. But anyways, I had to get that in there. She's a Winnipegger, guys. Sorry. Now, if you had any advice, Coco, after all the stuff that you've gone through and now pursuing your dream, I mean, you must have some great advice. What kind of advice would you give an artist that's already out there or just starting out?
Well, one of the hardest things for me to hear as an artist, but also the best piece of advice that I was given, was to write original songs.
Yeah.
In singing backup, you're always singing somebody else's songs, and I love Sarah McLachlan, Nora Jones, tons of artists that I love and would love to copy or sing their tunes in the shower. But that wasn't what was going to help me break out into the industry. So the hardest thing to hear was that wasn't going to be good enough.
Yeah.
And to really make my mark and to let people see the real me, I had to share the real me through original music. I had to put in all the work that artists do with their music and put my soul, my heart, and everything that I have, painful or not, into my own music. And I really, really am glad that I took that advice. So that would be my advice to anybody who's new to the industry or who is thinking about writing songs. You have to just do it. There's nothing like original music. Nothing
at all. That's why I love doing this show. Because I get to discover all these artists that do original music, and they blow my mind. That is great advice because you're not going to make it doing covers, and unless you want to be a cover band for the rest of your life, and you're going to get bar gigs and maybe some casino gigs, but you have to do your own music. You have to be you. So what's next for you? I know probably another album. You're going to obviously stay with Blue Coast Records, I'm assuming, but are you writing? Are you recording? What is happening?
Well, I am actively pursuing a second album, and probably got about 4 or 5 songs under my belt for that. It's very exciting for me, and it's silly to say, but I love making music so much. I have a home recording studio, so my studio is my office. I'm in it, 8 to 10 hours a day, and always trying to find something new and inspiring to keep that momentum moving forward. So I'm working on music constantly, and the last couple of days, some creativity lightning has struck. So working on that, and I can't say exactly when it'll be out or who I'll be working with. I'm exploring a couple of options, but things are moving ahead, and it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. You're going to have to get in touch with me when it comes out, because I'll have you back on, or I'll throw any single up on my website under Allie's Odds and Ends and help you promote it. That is what I'm here for. Now, You can purchase Coco's music on iTunes, CD Baby, Blue Coast Music, and Amazon. And it's also on, whoops, I just hit my microphone. It's also on streaming services like Spotify, Pandora, Tidal, Google Play, Apple Music, and much, much more. You can also go to her website, which is cocoscottmusic.com. Like I said, it's going to be up on my website. You just click on it, and it goes right to her. What two songs are we going to hear from you, Coco?
I'm not sure which one you're going to play first, but you are going to hear Truth About You and Smolder.
Okay. And those are, I mean, I've listened to both of them obviously numerous times. Those are personal experiences that you've thrown in there. Like you can hear some of them just from everything that we've talked about. And they're beautiful songs. Your voice is gorgeous. Like when you say you love Sarah McLachlan, and like you have that voice, and it's just Coco. You know it's you, and it's just a beautiful voice, especially when you go high. I love your high register.
Oh, thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
Sweet.
And thank you so much for coming on my show. I totally appreciate it, and I wish you the best going forward. And I'm always here.
Thank you so much, Allie.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic Show. Keep checking my website because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.